Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join us. We are going to keep this very informal, and I am going to stick to my promise of just a half an hour. So we'll have you back at your desks quickly after this. But the point of this is just to have a really informal, honest conversation and describe, so what is this Do It For Me program all about? I am Susan Theder. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at FMG, and I would love to connect with you if you aren't already connected with me. And my esteemed guest today is Chevonne Farler, and I'm going to let her introduce herself in just a minute, but feel free to connect with her as well. I'm going to spend just about a minute or two before we start our conversation teeing up why our philosophy, really the philosophy behind Do It For Me, which is a content marketing strategy. It is the belief, and there is a lot of proof, this proof is coming from wide charts, that content and communications plays a huge role in your ability to grow your business, in your ability to retain customers, convert customers, and the likelihood that your customers are going to recommend you. If you look on the left-hand side of this, I think it's facing you the right way, you'll see, into the 90% customers, and this is the Y Charts survey that's done annually, and actually new results are coming out in the next month that we will be sharing. But would you consider an advisor's style and frequency in determining whether to retain them? And then on the lower side, would you same question, to recommend? Also interesting on the right side is nearly 50% of clients that were surveyed said they wish their advisor communicated more or much more. And you may say, but oh gosh, they don't want to hear from me. They do. And this is another sort of proof point on this. Differentiation is really hard. And we think one of the best ways to differentiate is through communications and content, consistently dripping on clients and prospects and centers of influence with valuable content, consistently updating your website with blogs that have valuable content, because people do want to see you as a thought leader and an educator. On the right side, eMoney, a survey that said 63% of consumers that were interviewed said that educational content would make an advisor stand out. And then on the left, just showing that basically all consumers, for this one, 96% are at least somewhat interested, and it's 66%, and that's millennials. This actually gets even higher as you go into the younger generations, believe that they want to be educated. They want to learn more. So with that, I am going to stop sharing because I'm boring, and I'm going to introduce Chevonne. So Chevonne, tell us a little bit about you, your practice, and what about DIFM attracted you and made you, I guess, why did you decide to do DIFM?
Yes, absolutely. First, thank you for having me. Welcome, everybody. I'm excited to talk about this. I've been a DIFM user for a year and 3, 4, 5 months, so 15 months, whatever that is. And I have seen a huge difference in the content that they're able to produce versus the content that I was trying to do myself, from a time management perspective, from a resource perspective, from a compliance perspective. The whole kit and caboodle at DIFM has made my life so much easier and allowed me a lot more time to be with clients, doing financial planning, the whole shebang. And
how would you describe it to someone who said, well, what even is it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, we have a relationship with FM. I have a relationship with FMG, and they provide feedback on my website. They help design my website. I have monthly calls with a representative from FMG where we go over my data. And that's really important, because not only do you want to send out information, like you were saying, that's educational to your clients, you also want them opening up those emails and doing some type of call to action with those. And so we go over my numbers. I'm roughly between 60 and 70% of an open rate.
That's amazing. And do you remember, do you have any comparison to what you used to get?
Honestly, because I was doing it all by myself, I don't have a comparison because that would have required me to have
Look at it.
data to do it myself.
Well, I will say, I think the average is way below that. Like, like a generic newsletter or things like that are all good sort of foundational drum beats, but they don't get 70% open rates.
Well, and I'm very particular. So one thing about FMG and the Do It For Me is that there's a lot of content that you guys provide for us. And so as an advisor, I get to pick and choose what I want to use. So from knowing my client base, if I have a lot of divorcees or clients that are going through divorce, so I use a lot of that material. I may not necessarily use some other material that wouldn't be the best for my client base.
I'm
And
going to bring up
so,
the calendar so you can even just talk through
yes,
how this works. So just a quick backdrop. Every month,
absolutely.
we're creating basically a content strategy. Myself and Samantha Russell and our entire content team, we're brainstorming what would be the absolute best content strategy across blogs, emails, and social posts, as well as events and other marketing ideas and a podcast script for the next month. And then we send out the calendar 2 weeks before that month. And I'll let you take it from there, Chevonne. Then advisors of our Do It For Me program are reviewing this and basically selecting what they want to use and what they want to customize or edit.
Absolutely. So I'm a pretty hands-on marketer. So I go into each of the pieces and see if there's some changes that need to take place that better suit my client base, or that I need them to sound slightly more like me.
Yep.
But that's very slim and few far between when I need to
Let's
change
take
the
an
tone or the
example.
tinder.
Do you remember
Um,
any of the ones that you might have edited for February?
Actually, I didn't edit any of the ones for February. I can tell by
Wow.
looking at this calendar. I know I didn't edit any of those. For some months, there may be ones where I rearrange. For instance, like I can't remember for February specifically, but like the student loan, I may not necessarily do that on that. I may pick a different day
Yep.
where I want that to go out. And for my monthly market insights, because I have a great relationship with FMG. I actually don't use the pre-recorded one, sorry.
Yep. No.
But they send me the script, and I do
Yep.
it in my own voice.
Awesome.
Because I want the
That's
clients
actually a
to.
fantastic tip. And I think what you're hitting on, and I'll just make the exclamation point, is this is a lot of content. We've got this one is I think this was the Secure Act 2.0 and changes that relate to special needs trusts, which got a lot of great feedback and provoked a lot of conversations and I think some referrals. February, so it was the psychology of love and money was the other blog. And for most months, we're really trying to hit on a high net worth top financial oriented topic or something related to maybe the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act or Secure Act 2.0 that customers and or prospects don't know about, so that they're going to be like, oh, I want to get an aha. But then we also try to do one that's a little bit more on human interest that has a tie-in to money. And
Yes, and you can even target it through, like, let's say there was one in there about required minimum distributions.
yep,
Well, my 20 and 30 something clients don't necessarily need to get that,
yep,
but I may want my 60-year-olds to know it's coming around the turnpike. So you can
yes,
actually customize who your actual thing, who the content is going to. So FMG has it where there's even a COI or other prospect versions of the emails. So
yep.
you're not necessarily sending the same thing to everybody, which is really good because you can target it and get the best results. And I think that's one of the reasons why my open rates are so high, is because it's targeted to those specific groups.
Totally. And what we want to encourage is this is a starting place for some, like this month might have nailed it for you. But in most months, and generally, this is hopefully 90% there for you, but you might want to tweak the date that we might have suggested for a post. We always include about 10 optional posts. So you might say, I want those, or I don't really want to do, the motto. I'm going to skip the motto this month. Or we will suggest customizing. So for Valentine's Day, we would have suggested, use your own photo, take a picture of your team, maybe doing a client event or something that's more personalized. And also just, taking a second to customize the emails or the blogs so that it has even more of your tone. We're aiming to get it just right, but all of you have your unique voice. So in a given month, as you go through this and you're deciding, okay, this one I want edited, this one I want to go to just this segment, this one I want to use a different picture, this one scratch. About how much time do you put in to making this, perfect for you?
For the next month, maybe 30 minutes, maybe.
That's awesome.
We can maybe say 45. Now in the beginning, in full disclosure, in the beginning, it took me a little bit of time to get the rhythm down,
Yep.
and to kind of learn the pattern. But, after a couple of months of doing it, you get it down pretty fast. Versus when I was trying to write all the content myself and researching all the content and then writing all the content and then going through it's just, this is, I would describe this as, how sometimes authors have ghost writers.
Yep.
I would kind of describe this as kind of a ghost writer relationship where then it comes to the advisor to make it actually ours, but the meat and potatoes of it, DIFM's taken care of for me.
Oh, that's exactly what we're aiming for. So I love that you said that. There was somebody wrote in recently and I loved it. So I'm going to share it. They said, this is so, I think it was right after we sent one of the calendars out and they responded and said, this is so amazing. I feel like you're reading my mind and writing exactly the way I would write, which I mean, is exactly what we aim to do. But again, taking the 30 minutes to customize makes a big difference. I'm going to actually share a couple because you can talk through this as well. I'm going to share some of the customizations. Let's see if I can find this. Okay, hold on. There we go. Okay, so let me get out of this one. Stop share. I'm going to try it. Hold on one sec. My bad. There we go. Are we there? Okay. So these are some examples of content. So understanding the September effect was a very popular one, a year-end checklist.
Oh yes, my clients love that September effect one.
Really? So
yes,
talk about
I got
that a little bit.
Yes. I was at an event, not an investment event, but just an event out in the public where there were people there, some of my prospects and clients who I knew had gotten this, and they had asked me many questions. So I would give the tidbit to the financial advisors is to make certain I mean, I do it, but you want to make certain you read stuff before you post it, just in case people have questions. You're not going, now, what did I write?
Exactly. Like, what are you talking about? What's September effect?
Yeah, exactly. And I've had a couple of other advisors come to me in my firm and ask about that one. That one was a big hit.
That's awesome. We also try to hit on really, timely trends. So I think this was maybe in, I don't remember what month, but AI's role in shaping tomorrow. You can see we write a blog and then an email and then a social post. And again, all of this is customizable. And here's some examples of how advisors customize it. Maybe you can share some of yours, but the Secure Act one, we wrote about how businesses can now match student loans in their 401k, which is great for students and great for businesses. And so we had a photo that we used on the calendar, but we suggested that you customize it. And this advisor had a daughter that graduated, so he put this on it, got great engagement. And the point being, the hard part really is the writing part. I mean, that's like how to get that clever and get it, the right emojis and all that. Coming up with a customized picture, if somebody gives you a suggestion, is pretty easy. Have you customized any posts and had success with that?
I have. So I don't know if everyone can tell from my accent, but I'm in the southern US. I'm in Tennessee.
No.
And so there's been times for especially some of the holiday posts,
Yeah.
where knowing my client base again, I've swapped out different pictures for the holidays that I know that would respond better with what's going on.
Yep.
Or, different holidays. I see you're using some of Doug and Kim's stuff, who I know as
Here's
well.
one,
So
this is a pickleball,
yeah,
just showing the range of topics, everything from, the Secure Act to pickleball. And as you probably know, some of the lighter ones get more engagement, but the ones that get the best engagement are Dog Appreciation Day. Anytime you can weave a dog into a post. So again, for Dog Appreciation Day, we wrote the caption and we had a dog picture that looked like it could be anybody's dog, so you could use it. But here's, just a range of what other people did, some of the advisors did to customize. Let me get out of the
absolutely.
stop sharing so we get to see your face. One question I'm wondering, people have asked me how we would describe the content. I just showed some examples, but if you met an advisor who asked, how would you describe it? What would you say?
How would I describe the content?
Like, is
Uh,
it high net worth? Is it something like everybody, you read it and you're like, oh, I already knew this. Everybody already knows this.
Right. So I would say there are certain pieces that are obviously targeted more to high net worth, higher sophistication levels. There are other pieces like the human interest, like the dog, anybody could like. I think FMG does a great job of being able to provide a lot of content to advisors and being able to pick and choose, okay, for this particular topic, I happen to know my clients aren't as sophisticated on. And so I'm going to use this particular content piece. Or on this
Yeah.
one, my clients know a lot about. So I'm going to use the Secure Act as an example. My clients know a lot about the Secure Act because
Good
I've
for
sent them a
them.
lot of information about the
Yeah.
Secure Act, right? So I'm just hypothetically saying, so if there was another Secure Act one that comes out, for June or whatever, I may not use that one because I know that my clients are already very well versed in that.
Yep.
So you want to kind of, I would say FMG does a great job of using high net topics, but explaining it in a way that people always walk away with something they didn't know before, or in a way that most people are going to be able to understand. You were showing that slide earlier about education, and that's really my biggest thing is I want my clients to understand what we're talking about and
Yep.
understand their financial plan. So even though I was saying my clients know a lot about the Secure Act, there may be something else that I happen to know that they're not as well informed about, and I'll pick that piece instead. You
Exactly.
really just have to know what your clients need, and FMG has the content that you can then customize and use in that space. So
And
I would say it can fit any advisor no matter where they are in growing their book of business or retaining their book of business. And it can fit any sort of client base, whether or not it's very high net worth, very sophisticated, you know,
yeah.
Elon Musk genius people, or just your normal average American, you know?
Exactly. And
Um,
here, just to show, like, I keep this huge stack of ideas, and most of them are from our Do It For Me advisors. So I get emails from Chevonne. Every month as we send out the calendar, there's a video that describes the strategy behind it. And then we invite advisors to give us feedback and suggestions. So Chevonne, for example, asked us to do a blog on divorce. So immediately we did a blog on divorce. And I've got one here actually from another advisor just yesterday on excess contributions that require action. So I'm going to do a timely on that. The 1099 one was really popular. We had advisors say, I'm getting tons of questions from my clients, like, when am I going to get all these 1099s? So we did a when to expect your 1099 and all the different types of 1099s. And I
which
think
saved us a bunch of time because every year I was having to write out over and over and over again when they're going to be expecting their 1099s. So that
yeah,
was
I
perfect.
love that. I would never have thought, honestly, I wouldn't have thought of that, but we get advisors who are basically somewhat order takers too, because you guys have the best ideas. And then that one, I think, got such a strong open rate and response rate that we got requests to do a reminder because people were still emailing. So we did a second one. So we in addition to just the calendar being the calendar, we are always doing ad hoc, whether it's a timely 1099 or whether, the Fed does something interesting. So there's content in addition to that, including social content. So I know one question that's on everybody's mind is, how do you know it's working?
Oh, that's a great question. So for me, and we're in the numbers game, right? So
Yep.
when
Yep.
I first joined FMG and DIFM, I told my rep, I was like, look, I'm gonna give you guys a year, and if my production's not at this mark, then I'm gonna think you got it's not working, and I'm not gonna do it. I'm just being full disclosure.
Well, that's,
And
yep, I would too.
and obviously I've stayed longer than a year because it's working. I mean, prospects that I have been continuously dripping on for the last 15 months now this quarter are starting to sign on. I have done more in production this since the beginning of January of this year than I did in all of 2022.
Wow.
So it is working. I'm on track. I don't knock on wood, no one has a crystal ball, but I could potentially double my entire production from last year to this year, if I keep going at the rate. And I would say it's from DIFM. It's because of the social assists that they send me. It's the content, the drips. The new client that I got said, well, it's because I keep getting all the emails from you. You keep sending me information, even though I'm not a client of yours.
That
So
is
I
awesome.
decided I should be a client. That's great. That
That
works.
that's amazing. I have a question from somebody in the Mike from the audience saying, describe your ideal client and do you use content for that audience in the different program?
Oh, that's great. That's a good question. So, I mean, my ideal client, or I'm gonna say my sweet spot where I do my best work, would be a client that has between a million and 4 to 5 million. That's
Yep.
kind of my sweet spot and I'm talking about investable assets. From a whole net worth, I've got clients that have that, but they have a whole net worth in 20, 30 million, whatever. But I'm talking about investable assets for various reasons. That's kind of my sweet spot, where I can really help clients, and they kind of have, at least in this market, they don't view themselves as being wealthy. It's just
Right.
where I am. They don't view themselves as being wealthy. And so helping them realize how to get their money to last their
Yep.
lifetime.
Yep.
So that would be my ideal space. And
And what
the
have
other
been some
question,
of like your favorite pieces of content for that? What are the content pieces that really stand out or examples of them that stand out for that ideal client?
yeah. So Susan mentioned earlier divorce. I would say about a third of my clients are either going through a divorce, or are post divorce, and I've helped them in that space with providing financial information to their lawyers, doing Monte Carlo simulations for alimony, the whole shebang, right? And so the divorce blogs, and all the divorce material really helped. And obviously I targeted that to my divorce clients, right? I do have quite a few of entrepreneur clients, and
Mhm.
so there's been some great content that then I've targeted in that space. And then
Yep.
there's just generic market and economy content that I send out to everybody.
Ready.
So yeah, I do target, but I also, if it's stuff that people
There's
just
some
need to
for
know,
both
yeah,
niche and general. Yep, I would agree.
absolutely. Absolutely.
If you were asked, if I phrase this question with a blank, like a Mad Lib, if you are an advisor who fill in the blank, this program is perfect for you.
From my experience, if you're an advisor who wants their book of business to grow, this is the program. Because the content, I see someone else was asking about dripping on prospects and stuff. You can code people as prospects in the system. And so for me, I'm wanting my book of business to grow. And so if that's where you are, the second would be if you are just retaining your business and you're wanting just to be in front of your clients so they don't leave. Like,
And probably grow referrals.
and grow referrals, right, then that would work as well too, because you can set that up. Yeah.
Wonderful. I don't know. Can you hear my dog in the background just now going?
I can.
Yeah, that's great timing.
Of course,
Hey. Yeah, it just
because
started pouring and now they're barking. Tell me about a typical meeting with your dedicated marketing specialist. And you talked about your website. You mentioned that they go over metrics, but describe the value of that marketing specialist and what they do for you.
absolutely. So she takes care of, you can use them in different ways. So one of, because this is what she's told me, she said that she can handle everything for me, like just on the calendar that Susan was showing earlier, she can just pre-schedule all of that for me. But like I mentioned, I'm a hands-on person, so I like to pick and choose what I use and when. But she does all my blogs and puts them on my website. Right now, I was featured in a couple of news stories, and so on our last call, I said, hey, I want a new thing on my website, showing where I'm featured or I'm in the news or whatever. Can you work on that for me? And so she's working on developing the new web page for me and how it's going to look. And so, it's only 45 minutes once a month, and we go over our metrics. I also ask her what are some best practices she's seeing from other financial advisors around the nation, because, I know that she's not just helping me. And so what are some tips and tricks that other people are doing? Is it like you were saying putting my own dog picture in there versus using, the dog picture, or is it a webinar or a podcast
Oh,
that
have you done any events with us? Have you used the platform and your specialist to do an event?
I have not yet. I have to own that I haven't, but that's one of those things that on our last call,
How
she
about the
mentioned,
mid-year market update?
yes. So that's on my, because that's going to be coming out soon. So that's on my summer agenda because I've not done one yet. And so I'm a little nervous about that.
Oh,
Just putting that
don't be nervous.
putting it out
We'll
there.
help
But
you
it's
do
because
it.
it's the first time, but I know that you guys will support me in all of it. So and she said that there was a tax one that was
There's a
recently
tax
done.
strategies one. Yep.
Mhm.
There's a shred event, which, post taxes is always a good one.
Yes, that's a
I can
great
help you do
idea.
that.
So all that to say is I still have lots of room for improvement too, even though I'm a DIFM person. Is like y'all are providing so
Maybe
much.
just the events. You're taking advantage of all the rest, but
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend quarterly the marketing specialists help their clients put on, to promote an event. We have some that are just in our, the templates are already built in our platform, like a shred event, the tax strategies, the mid-year update, and those like the mid-year update one, those more technical ones, we use Y charts data, and they're really sophisticated, and they have the scripts and they're all compliance approved. And then we help with the email and social posts and landing page to promote and, capture the RSVPs. So it's a great way to do either an in-person event or a webinar. So with 2 minutes left, I think I've hit on most of the
Well, I
questions.
saw one question in there
Oh, good.
where Ned was asking about when I was referring to the FMG system. Yes, so all my contacts are in the FMG system, but it integrates with like Salesforce and Redtail, and I
Well
don't know all the
thought.
different ones. Yeah, all the different ones. Like, and so you just dump your stuff in, and it just integrates. I
I
don't
think
know.
your marketing specialist, one of the steps in the onboarding process is to sync your contacts with your CRM. So if you use any of the common CRMs, we just sync, which pulls in all of your groups. So your contacts, your tag groups, your segments, however you've organized it, your CRM is the source of truth. And it just syncs with our system. So on a daily basis, it's always up to date, but it enables you to do segmentation like Chevonne is doing. So if you have a group of retirees versus next geners, then when we have content that relates to either, your specialist knows, let's use that group only versus this goes to all prospects. So it's pretty simple. So with that, I am going to stay to my promise to keep it to a half an hour, both for your sake, Chevonne, and for everybody else. I so appreciate your time and your energy and that smile. And I hope everybody that joined found this valuable. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody.
Have a great day.